Please help me welcome our speakers. We have Amber Rodbell, who is our VP of Learning Experience, and Vicky Pereira, who is our Associate Director of Instructional Design. We are so excited to learn all about one of our new tools, the AI Learning Companion. So, Amber, Vicky, this session is all yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Casey. Hi, everyone. I am Amber Rodbell, VP of Learning Experience at ELB Learning. What that really means is that I work with our production team to create really meaningful training, strategic solutions for the clients that come to us. I have the pleasure to have myself surrounded by a team of people that are way smarter than I am. So that anytime I have a great idea or a vision, or I'm like, can we do this? They're able to bring it to fruition. And one of those people is Vicky. And Vicky has been with ELB for a little over a year now. He is a excellent instructional designer and leads our instructional design team and also our AI-based solutions. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So Vicky, do you want to say something briefly as an
Thank
introduction?
you. Absolutely. Thank you, Amber. Team, like Amber said, I've been with ELB for a little over a year, but I've been involved in AI-based solutions for a long time. To give you an example, the first Gen AI solution that I scoped predates the release of ChatGPT by more than a year. So the release of ChatGPT was actually a very exciting time for me because I had spent the past several months prior to the release extolling the virtues of this technology to anybody with a budget that would let me build something. So this is really exciting to be with ELB and actually bring something to market.
Thank you so much. All right, we are going to jump in and we are going to get started with a poll. So we are going to talk about where you are today in your organization, which best describes where your organization's Gen AI setup is today. Are you allowed to use it? Is there policy? Are you doing pilots? Do you have an LLM? So if you guys can go ahead and pop those answers into the poll, that really is going to help us know how to tailor our conversation in this webinar to make sure that we're touching on things that are going to be relevant to you. So we'll give that just a few minutes here, or probably not minutes, but a little bit of time, and kind of see what those results look like. Right. So as that comes in, it looks like, wow, this is interesting. Probably a year ago, we would have had some completely prohibited, but now we're seeing definitely the trend here. You guys are getting into some early pilots. There's still no policy, but I know we're all getting there as organizations are growing. Looks like some are enterprise subscriptions. That's great news. And then others have their own LLMs. So that's really good. This is all super helpful for us to tailor this to you and show you where we can really provide value. All right, let's jump into one more. We're gonna talk roughly about how many hours do you spend per week using any kind of Gen AI tool. So maybe it's not even directly related to your work, just curious, how many hours and how invested are you in using AI tools? So everybody can take a moment to answer that. And I'm sure those results will be enlightening as well. All right, answers are coming through. So we shall see here. Give it just another few seconds. All right, look at that. So there is actually one person is not using it at all. But the vast majority, we have a lot of people, it looks like, that you guys are starting to explore it, starting to invest some time in it. About 30% of us are spending 8+ hours. Wow, 8+ hours a week in Gen AI tools. So that's pretty impressive. All right, so this is great. Thank you so much for participating in those. That really helps us be able to kind of get into tailoring it in the way that's going to be most relevant for your organization. All right, big picture first. Intuitive understanding and research, it really shows us still that individualized coaching still has better outcomes than standardized training programs. So if you kind of think of the best business leaders, the best athletes, and the best musicians in the world, without exception, all of them have benefited from personal coaching. In terms of exceptional performance, we know that a one size does not fit all. The personalized coaching approach for a long time hasn't really been able to be scalable for organizations. Organizations can't hire or spare the time of many subject matter experts to like coach people one-on-one until until they just don't have the time or expertise in that area to be able to like say, okay, I can take this time and work with each individual person. Until now, with the help of a learning companion, we are able to upskill and upscale the ability for individualized coaching in a big way. So this isn't just like our opinion. There's meta-analysis that there's over 234 studies with over 15,000 participants that say the exact same thing that we're telling you here. So we've got kind of the background behind and the reasoning, and let's move forward and talk about what that actually means to us. So we know that gaps still persist after training. So let's think about an example for that. Let's say that your organization is rolling out some sort of new coaching methodology. There's new vocabulary, there might be new standards, there might be new manuals, the whole 9 yards. Everything's new. You generally would appoint some sort of transformation expert to kind of get that going. And you would usually then appoint regional champions or POCs to help provide examples of what that good training methodology looks like. You might create a website with FAQs. And in our experience, in our work, we find that even after doing all these things and thinking that we have the best training program ever that we've created, we still find that there are gaps that still persist for any of the following reasons. It could be that SMEs get repetitive questions that kind of take away from other priorities, so they can't get to other topics. Global teams need consistent clarification across different time zones. Maybe it's that some learners hesitate to ask the basic questions in group settings. We all have experienced that at some time in our work careers. Or searching through course materials for specific answers can be really, really time consuming. And we know that knowledge updates, all of those upskilling moments require a lot of rework, and it can be very costly. So we have tailored our solution to help with, after the fact, when you have those gaps, what do you do next and what can we do effectively? And so I'm going to take this time to turn it over to Vicky, and he's going to explain what we can do with the Learning Companion.
Thank you, Amber. To be clear, the reasons that are listed here, the insights that are listed here are not meant to be an exhaustive list of every reason why gaps persist. We're offering these as a sample from the work that we've done so far. These are some of the insights that we have. Likely, if I put this question to the group on this call, you're probably going to point to several other reasons why gaps persist after training. And it doesn't have to be the example that we provided with the coaching methodology. It could be anything. It could be technical training. It could be additional soft skills training. So we've talked about the big picture. We've talked about some specific problems that we've identified through our work. Now let's look at the solution. We're very excited to introduce ELB's AI Learning Companion. This video that I'm about to play you has a little more explanation.
Meet our customizable AI Learning Companion. Our AI Learning Companion is an intelligent companion designed to support your learners. Imagine a virtual expert trained on your course, a new policy or corporate initiative that is ready to provide instant answers anytime, anywhere. As your learners complete their training, they can ask the AI Learning Companion any question related to the course content and receive an immediate, accurate response. Whether it's a clarification, a step-by-step guide, or even a complex calculation, our AI Learning Companion is ready to assist, providing fast, reliable answers tailored to your learners' needs. Unlike generic AI solutions, our solution is custom-trained by instructional designers on your specific content. It leverages multiple AI technologies seamlessly integrated in the background to deliver the best user experience. Our AI Learning Companion is a fully customizable solution. You can name your AI Learning Companion, tailor its capabilities, and align it with your organization's unique objectives. The possibilities are endless. Empower your learners with instant knowledge, seamless support, and smarter learning experiences. Let's build your custom AI Learning Companion today.
That was the trailer. We just watched an overview of our vision and all the capabilities that are in our solution. What's exciting for us is that the reality matches the marketing. So let me show you a recording of an in-house security instructor that accompanies our online security awareness e-learning. And this particular variant that we're about to show you is demonstrated embedded in our in-house LMS, RLP. The video does not have a soundtrack, so I'll just pause and speak to certain aspects of the tutor on screen. Gonna pause here. Notice how the companion, in this case, the instructor, was triggered using a chat button that sits over the interface of our learning management system. If you're an existing RLP customer of ours, we have the ability to turn this on selectively on the courses. It doesn't even have to be for content that we built for you. You can give us your own content, your existing content, and we have the ability to build companions for your existing material. Let's keep going. In this case, the instructor has been asked a question about phishing and specifically asked to tailor the explanation to the learner's role in the marketing department. So I know everybody here does not have access to ELB's online security awareness training program. So you'll have to take my word for the fact that all of the content in the response is on point. It matches the characteristics in our material. And if you scroll to the bottom, it covers exactly what the query was about, the tailoring the response to your role in the marketing department. I'm pausing the video here to show you the fact that our solution supports threading, which means that learners can start different threads per topic, choose to go back to an older thread if they want to continue exploring a topic. Let's say that we built a companion to follow a critical thinking course. And let's say you're exploring one school of thought in thread A, you can start a second thread to explore thread B, and so on and so forth, and just go back to your thread and revisit any conversation and continue from there. Like I said, this is launched from the LMS. We also have the ability to put this inside e-learnings, either a full page e-learning or a multi-page e-learning, and I have some examples that I can show you. I have my eye on the clock. I think we're doing okay on time. I can pause and see if we have any questions. I see we have a question about talking to the companion instead of typing. Yes, but not in the mode that you're probably thinking of. The voice mode that you're talking about that apps like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini offer, I will demonstrate a method for you to speak with the agent. Wes, can you clarify what you mean by canvas? Are you talking about the canvas that's inside solutions where the chat is separated from text manipulation and output?
Canvas LMS.
Oh, Canvas the LMS. It does not natively, the solution that's on screen right now, I cannot do that on Canvas. But I can give you an e-learning SCOM package that you can deploy to Canvas or the LMS of your choice, and it will work from there. It launches just the same as any other e-learning from your LMS Canvas, and then it will just be available that way. Emily, your question about where's the content being pulled from, that's an excellent question. It was very important for us for the AI Learning Companion to be accurate and truthful. So we've put in a lot of work to make sure that the companion is never answering questions based on the inherent or the baked in knowledge in an LLM. It's always pulling information from your organization's content, from your training material. All your content gets stored in what's described as a vector database. The companion searches that database and then answers questions based on that. It's tuned quite strongly to avoid answering questions that don't exist in the database. It'll very politely redirect users to say, this doesn't seem relevant. Can you rephrase? Let's say I went to the security instructor and said, tell me about elephants. Why are they gray in color? It won't say, hey, this is, it won't refuse. It'll just very politely redirect and say, this doesn't seem relevant. Do you want to try a different query? Do you want to try rephrasing? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I didn't see any new question. Can we trigger poll 3, please? If everybody wouldn't mind sharing some insight about what is your first instinct when you get stuck on a work task. We just want some insight into how behavior has, or in some case, maybe has not changed. Feel free to use the chat if you have a go-to approach that isn't listed in this poll. We have all the old favorites in the options here, searching Google, and of course, nowadays, ChatGPTing something, it's become a verb, like how Google it became a verb way back. That's very interesting, this result. So we don't have anybody talking about going through old training material, asking a colleague. We're seeing 13%. Google and ChatGPT are still the reigning champions of problem solving. Winging it still has some fans. I also sometimes tend to, try and figure it out. And then I find that if I go to a colleague after I've tried something, then I'm usually able to get a better solution. Checking internal documentation and wikis, that's still valid. And of course, this approach really depends on you having a good, reliable wiki and documentation that's updated regularly. One more poll question. We just want some more insight. If you got access to a AI learning assistant, like what we've demonstrated, can you tell us everything that you would use it for? If you have an idea that isn't listed in the options here about practicing conversations, getting instant answers, and the other options that we have, please go ahead and put it in the chat. While you're answering the poll, I see another question has come up. Yes, RAG is one of the technology that we use, Ralph, to minimize hallucinations. We also have, temperature settings. We have other guardrails to minimize hallucinations. And the solutions that we are talking about is capable of synthesizing answers across disparate documents and disparate sources. They don't always have to be documents, right? The platform is capable of ingesting content from a variety of sources. Maybe we're maintaining a direct connection to a SharePoint. Maybe we're maintaining a direct connection to a folder in Google Drive, and there are PDFs there. Maybe there are other file types there. We have the capability to ingest information from a variety of sources and keep it truthful while it's synthesizing across all sources. To your point about citations, this is possible to an extent. We don't provide direct hyperlinks because sometimes the hyperlinks go straight to the vector database, and the vector database will have slightly different display formatting than your original source content, but it will tell you the document or the section that the information is pulled from. Okay, we have the results of our survey in. Okay, we have a fairly even mix. Of course, we have getting instant answers to technical questions, pulling ahead as a use case. And that's very interesting for us to know. I think one of the questions that came up in the chat earlier is, what if I want to speak to the instructor using my voice? And I'm about to play you a demo that shows you exactly that. Like I previewed before, it's not the voice mode that we're thinking of when we use the native apps on our mobile phone. This is a literal phone call. So I got the security instructor. We just saw the video where the learner was interacting with the security instructor via chat. I got the security instructor to call me on my mobile phone, and I recorded that conversation. So I'm about to play that for you next.
This is the ELB Security Coach. What would you like to talk about today?
What can you tell me about multi-factor authentication?
Absolutely, happy to explain. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is a security process where you need to provide 2 or more forms of evidence, factors, to prove your identity when logging into an account. The idea is to add extra layers of protection beyond just a password. These factors generally fall into 3 categories. 1, something you know, like a password.
I'm not going to make you listen to the full explanation. I am going to skip ahead a little bit just to demonstrate one other point. Let me skip ahead a couple of seconds and then I'll continue playing.
So, for example, you might enter your password, something you know.
I changed my mind. I actually need help with a different issue. I've been receiving a lot of messages from people pretending to be my CEO. Can you tell me how to deal with that?
Of course, you're dealing with what's commonly known as CEO fraud or business email compromise. This is a type of phishing attack where scammers impersonate high-level executives to trick you
Going to
into
pause
sharing.
here. The rest of it is just the technical explanation that's drawn from our online security awareness training. Notice how I didn't use the word phishing. Because this companion is connected to the database drawn from our training content about online security awareness, it's able to identify an example of that attack in action, correctly identify the type of attack, and give me specific recommendations. So if I play out this whole video, it goes into detail about, hey, remember you learned this principle, this is how you would put it in action. So this is how you would check, this is what you would do. Picture this with your content, with your specific organization, specific nuances, your approaches, and picture this having all of that knowledge. We don't think it's possible to fully recreate the capability of an expert. You can always hope to get a percentage of an expert. And even in the previous video, we spoke about what does it mean if you have 70%, 80% of the capability of an existing SME available 24/7 to everybody? What does that then do for your processes? What does that then do for your information stickiness and for your other metrics that you're tracking for a specific effort? I'm going to I think the last point that I wanted to make on this recording of the phone call was that it pulled information from the right spot that I wanted it to pull and synthesized an answer based on that. So chat, or you can get it to call you, but it does not do that voice mode. So that was the only point that I wanted to make. I'm going to talk a little bit about our deployment options. I did cover this previously. As Amber's alluded to earlier, we have the ability to update the knowledge attached to the companion. So let's say we've tuned our responses, we like its tone, we like the size of the responses, we like its behavior when it's citing information. But let's say there's a brand new rollout. Now, typically, if you're following the normal process, you either need to send out an email, maybe you need to send out a job aid, maybe you need to refresh your training, and content refreshes aren't always easy. There's a budget that's required. If you have this solution in place, you can come to us and just say, there's a brand new process that everybody needs to follow. We can update the knowledge attached to the companion without touching anything else. And then the next day onwards, all responses connected to that area will be drawing from the new knowledge. So it's very easy to roll out updates to processes, to other fields of your knowledge without rebuilding your content and without sending emails and hoping that everybody read the email and everybody remembers the new way to do something. Access control, I think I talked about this when we asked the question about the LMS came up. We have the ability to put the companion inside an existing e-learning or a standalone e-learning SCOM package that you can deploy to your LMS. And you can control access the same way. You don't need to do something new. You roll out specific e-learnings to specific classes, to specific waves, specific batches. You can do the same thing here. Unlock access to the learning companion after they've completed the existing training that you've rolled out. And you can control access via your existing LMS workflow. You don't need to do anything extra. In terms of integration, I talked about how we have integration with our own LMS RLP. We have the ability to display the learning companion outside of the e-learning package. I'm just going to show you another screenshot that just talks about the other options available. So this is an example of, I'm going to bring up the laser pointer. So this is an example of what we saw in the video, the recording that I played for you, RLP LMS integration. If you're talking about a single page e-learning, the companion can occupy the full screen, all the real estate that's available. And if we have existing learning content and the companion just needs to go alongside for brainstorming, for troubleshooting, to answer queries, we have the ability to do that as well. And all of them can be connected to the same source of truth, can be connected to the same knowledge base, can be connected to the same database. So it does not matter where somebody is accessing it from, whether they're getting the companion to call them, whether they're accessing it on a single page e-learning, multi-page e-learning, everybody is getting the access to the same information. Responses won't be identical, but they will be accurate. Every response from every source will have the same level of accuracy. They just won't be identical in terms of the language and the lines used, except if it's technical content.
Hey, Vicky, I'd like to add really quickly. I think about this in a lot of ways. I so often get clients who are like, well, we're going to create the training experience program, and then we're going to add a refresher. And I'm like, well, maybe we don't have to add the refresher anymore. Maybe that refresher becomes this AI learning companion that is ongoing with your team members so they can continue to ask those questions too. So then there's not a need per se for a year-over-year refresher because they have this ongoing conversation and ability to ask their AI learning companion, which is so helpful. And I know Vicky said that, as you are updating the content in the background, when new policies come out and things like that, you can also have it pop up on the learning companion to say, hey, guess what, guys? There's a new policy that's out. You need to take a look at this and make sure that they're actually seeing the new content as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there because for me, that's been something that I've seen as a great value add.
For sure, absolutely. And that allows me to segue very nicely into the framework that we have arrived at when we're thinking about solutions like this. Now, these terms don't necessarily have to apply to the ELB AI Learning Companion. You can use a continuum like this to talk about your own AI solutions. And let me explain what I mean by that. When we are discussing generative AI-based solutions, typically, AI Learning Companion for us is an umbrella term, right? Now, typically when you use the word tutor, we are thinking of something simpler, where we're thinking of something that's more for curriculum revision, recall, and practice. To Amber's point about refresher training and brand new processes, then we're potentially moving into assistant territory. And this is the continuum. This isn't a either or situation. As you add more complexity to the AI solution and you're giving it tools, maybe you wanted to do a Google search before giving you a response. Maybe you wanted to go look at log into a database. Maybe you wanted to look at HubSpot, pull some information from there, and then explain some things to you. That is moving more into assistant territory where it's helping you with real world application. It's not just explain this to me. It's like, be my co-pilot, think through this with me, make specific recommendations I can use. And the examples that are on screen right now show you the difference between the two. So we have a customer service example, on the tutor side, it's like, walk me through this step for handling a customer complaint. And then on the assistant side, it's like, here's an Excel sheet, it's my profit and loss statement. Give me a breakdown of my margin targets for the next 3 quarters based on my organization's best practice, right? So if you look at this as a continuum and not a binary focus, then I think that'll help you plan your approaches as well. I'd like to show you one more example just to illustrate the difference between a tutor and an assistant. Here's an example from pharmaceuticals and life sciences. On the tutor side, we have a sample query which is saying, quiz me on the top 3 side effects of product X, right? And tell me how to ethically discuss them with a healthcare professional. On the assistant side, it's like, here is my sales territory data for the last quarter. Here's a profile of a cardiologist I'm meeting, based on the prescribing history, clinical test results for cardiac patients, generate a custom call plan. Try and anticipate what the potential objections could be, and then, give me talking points to address each of those potential objections. Think of the difference this tool can make to a pharmaceutical rep who's going into prep. Now, a lot of this used to rely on experience, used to rely on talent. This can sort of help bring everybody up to speed much faster than if they had to figure all of this out on their own. So the assistant model can be quite powerful. The reason I'm describing this framework is because externally, the interface might look the same, but behind the scenes, in terms of the architecture, in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the lift required, which LLM are you going to use for which step, all of that, they're completely different. I have one last poll for everybody. I just want to get some insight on which product and platform you use the most. I feel confident about asking this poll. I would have nixed it, but I think nobody said that they don't use generative AI at all, and a significant number of you said you spend 8+ hours. We'd love to know where most of your time is going, and then if you use anything other than this, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we'd love to learn more about that as well.
And Vicky, we have a couple questions came through as well in the chat.
Okay.
And what's
Perfect.
really great about our learning companion is that we don't just hand you over, oh, a one size fits all, here you go, here it is. We literally will have your team sit down with our instructional designers and tell us, hey, I want it to write scenarios or have some role play in it. Can we do this? And the instructional designers can then work with you to make that happen. So there's so much that we can do. And our team has a research and development team behind them. So if we are saying, hey, we need this to happen for our client, we have the ability to find those solutions to make it happen and to consistently be upgrading it all along the way.
That's right. Okay, hopefully everybody has voted. Can we look at the results of this poll? So I don't see the poll results. Casey, I don't know if it's come up for everybody else. Maybe it's just my machine. I'll give it a second.
I can see that it looks like ChatGPT is still at the forefront, with about 51% still on the free or plus version and another 14% on the team and enterprise version. Copilot and Claude are additional kind of seconds coming in. So,
Okay.
but really, that's really where people are utilizing AI the most.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this insight. I'm going to show you a comparison slide that should tell you why we're asking this question. I'm not going to read out this whole table. All of you can figure out what this table is saying. I will just quickly talk about perhaps the first line item. Now, I noticed in this survey, it came up for me at the last minute. There were 0 users of Notebook LM, so we won't even discuss that. It's a Google product. It's a browser-based Google product. I thought it might be popular with the instructional design L&D crowd, which is why I had it on the list. It was very important for us while designing the AI Learning Companion not to be tied into one specific ecosystem. And that is what we mean when we say LLM agnostic. We want the ability to use whatever LLM is available, open source, closed model, commercial, to tune performance to where we want it. And it's always going to be a trade-off between latency, accuracy, and depending on exactly what else we want to have happen. If you're talking about the profit and loss statement I gave you earlier, there's perhaps some number crunching, there's some database connections that need to happen. So it was very important for us to be LLM agnostic. We're using LLM-A for the initial query synthesis. We're using LLM-B to maybe search our database and find out if this query is relevant. We're using an entire framework of LLMs, and we're tuning performance very carefully based on your organization's needs. So ELB, AI Learning Companion, is LLM agnostic. Most of the other solutions on this comparison table aren't. If you are doing something on your own, you're building a multi-agent framework using Microsoft AutoGen, Swarm, Crew AI, any of these other solutions, you don't need AI Learning Companion, because that means you have a development team that can build you custom solutions, custom interface, custom databases, and everything. So everything on the column on the extreme right is high dev effort. There's nothing off the shelf. It requires a significant amount of work to put together to achieve some of the capabilities that we are giving you in an easy to use format. And of course, I talked about the embeddability and phone coaching. I'll say one word about the qualitative analytics. Right now, if you talk about a companion, we can get quantitative data fairly easily, by which I mean how many people, how many chats, how many tokens exchanged, things of that nature. We also have the ability. So let's say you work with us, you're building a training curriculum, whether we build it for you or it's an existing training curriculum, and you follow that up with a AI Learning Companion. Over time, we can pull reports and give you insights into the kind of queries that are coming in. We can say, hey, we rolled out this basic financial literacy course. Over the last 2 weeks, there have been a surprising number of queries about topic A, reading a tax return, right? And maybe that's expected because it's tax season, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's like, hey, that's surprising. That's a surprising insight. And maybe then you have the insight to decide, what do I do with this information? Do I need to send out an email? Do I need to have a huddle? Do I need to roll out some other intervention to address this problem that people seem to be having? Like, a lot of people seem to be getting stuck at the same part of the process. A lot of queries have come in about this. So maybe, some more attention is required. That's what we mean when we say qualitative analytics. We have the ability to, after people have been using it for a while, pull data, do a trend analysis, and just show you any insights that have been surfaced from an analysis of people's interactions with the companion. Gonna pause here. I know we have a series of queries. Amber, Casey, if I could get a little bit of help saying which question I should answer first.
One of the questions that gave me a chuckle was how you can think of, is the phone call a little old school? I thought that was funny. I was thinking about that too, and I was thinking about it a little creatively. Sure. So if you want to talk about kind of like use cases there, for me, it's like we have so many people out in the field. They're used to calling into service teams. Well, guess what? Now your service team is this AI companion. Hey, what kind of wire do I use for this? Or, this kind of problem exists. So it takes it a step above. You can eliminate maybe some of those, like instead of needing all this expertise in all this area, you have the AI companion that answers and fields some of those calls, and then it needs to take it to a different level. It can route it that way. But feel free, Vicky, expand on my response.
No, I think you covered it. Yeah, no, that's about it. Also, just to clarify, to add to what Amber said, all of this isn't being called out as revolutionary. I'm just describing the different things that we're offering. Phone calls obviously are not new. People have done them before. I'm just illustrating the different ways people can interact with the AI learning companion, just like how chat is not revolutionary, right? I have a question here from Richard. Are you saying your product is a tutor assistant to both? is both, Richard. It covers the full continuum. We have the ability to make it as simple or as complex as you need.
And I see a question on here about, may I have a meeting with your team members? And absolutely. And I think Casey will follow up with that and send you some additional information on how to set up meetings like that after this call.
I'm switching over to the Q&A section. We have one question from Joel saying, what happens when you ask a question, then the response is not in the trained content? This is customizable. Right now, we recommend the tutor or the assistant say something along the lines of, I don't know the answer to that, and then you can tell us if you wanted to say something different. If you think there are niche areas that are valid, they're connected to your training content, and you want people to be asking questions like that, we have the ability to recognize things like that and give them specific directions. Speak to team X, talk to individual A for additional clarification on these topics. If you want to tune it differently and you want us to say, hey, if it's not connected, if you detect it's not connected, just tell them to rephrase or tell them that you're unable to answer. We have the ability to do that also. Let's say that I'm talking about basic financial literacy and I start asking the question about why do elephants have gray skin, in which case you just want to politely redirect them. We don't want to direct them to a specific individual or a specific team to get additional clarification. But if it's something that's a high risk topic that you don't want them winging with information from the assistant, you can tune it that way. Okay, that question disappeared from my list, Joel. I'm hoping that means you consider that answered.
What about Vicky? This is a good question. What, in comparison to 11 Labs conversational agent, what are the differences as they're currently using that for support?
Yes, 11 Labs is actually one of our the service providers that we use. It's one of the technologies we use for the voice agent phone call. It's not the only one we use, but there's definitely a lot of overlap. The advantage here is that the RAG architecture, the embedding tools, all of that customization and fine tuning of using the LLM that you need for every step of the reasoning, there's a lot more flexibility with our platform. And we're using 11 Labs just as the voice engine, not for everything else that I described from the solution. But 11 Labs is great. They have one of the best voice libraries depending on your language and use case. It's one of our providers. Sorry, I'm just gonna.
I see some questions here. Can you share an example of technical training usage? Can it train on something like Python? That's a good question.
So it does have the ability to handle syntax and things like that. But if you want to execute the Python to show a result, that's not possible within the current learning companion. It's not meant to replace whatever other tools you would use, your sandbox and your training and other tools that you would use to practice something like Python. But if you want to, practice, let's say that you have existing training curriculum and your organization has a unique approach. We teach this, then this, then this, and these are the exercises that we do. Here's completed solved examples of what good looks like according to our organization standards, and we want people to practice doing this. We have the ability to train the learning companion on that and then have people practice in the environment, but it will all be chat. There will be no execution of the code to demonstrate a result. They will have to take it out of here and put it in an environment where that code can run. Carlos, I see you have a question about other topic that's not in the content, and I'll say the same thing to you that I said to Joel. This response to a use case like that can be customized.
So Sanjay has a good question. We are an end-to-end provider. The benefit of that is that we are constantly updating our back end. So if the team comes to Vicky or myself and says, hey, there's this brand new tool in the market. It will add all of these benefits automatically to all the clients on the AI companion. We will look into it, we will implement it automatically, and then send that upgrade out to our clients, and we will discuss it. And the benefits of being an end-to-end provider is that you have our instructional designers who may work with your instructional designers or your team to get the result that you want. And that ensures that whatever you want it to do, we ensure that if you're doing it through us, that's going to happen. So that's really, or we tell you why or why not, why it can't happen. So that's kind of why we do prefer to be an end-to-end provider. But always, if there's, we will work with your team in any way that you want us to work with them.
To give you an example of what Amber's talking about how we have a future-ready posture, right? Diffusion LLMs have been touted as a new advancement, a new approach, because current LLM technology is sequential, it's token-based. So token gets generated, and then there's prediction going on, and the sentence gets generated in one specific direction. Diffusion LLMs start working on all words simultaneously. So there are demos online from companies like Mercury, and I think Google has an experimental diffusion LLM that's rolled out that is extremely fast in demos. And we are trying to see if, using diffusion LLMs for certain use cases improves the speed, the accuracy, the running costs of our learning companion. To Amber's point, you won't need to come to us if something like that is released. We're paying attention to advancements in the industry. As soon as we think that something is stable enough for enterprise use, for organization use, it's reliable, we'll automatically include that tech in the learning companion. That's a huge advantage of working with us.
Absolutely. Right. There's some questions in the Q&A.
I'm gonna switch to the Q&A. Question from Adam. So is this like a custom Copilot from Microsoft? The comparison chart is a bit confusing. Not sure you would put Notebook LM on it just because it is AI related. So I can speak to this, Adam. So Notebook LM, in prior discussions of ours with instructional designers, when we talked about, we polled the group to say, tell us about your daily drivers. Notebook LM came up a lot in those conversations. So that's where we wanted to put it on the chart. Because this is literally a question we've been asked, like, how does your platform compare to Notebook LM? So we wanted to make sure it was on the comparison chart. This group, the poll did say nobody here is using Notebook LM, so it's kind of moot, but just to explain why we have it on the chart. Question from Joel. Do you have an example of the single page course? Can we have images and videos, or is it just text-based? Unfortunately, right now, it's primarily text-based. The technology exists for us to include images and other media, potentially existing audio files. The trouble is, in our work, at least so far, it hasn't been extremely reliable. Also, your running costs are much higher when you're talking about things like that. And you're also looking at higher latency. So we haven't been able to find a good use case and a good partner for whom it makes sense. But if that use case is important to you, we would be open to a conversation with you, figuring out how you plan to use images and videos, and we would work with you to see if we can come up with a feasible solution to make that work.
I think that's all I see.
Gonna switch over from the Q&A to the chat to see if
I don't think there's anything new in the chat, unless I missed something.
I see a question from Wes. Wes, I don't know if you've already received an answer to this. We're looking for a tutor AI to teach our CNA course currently housed in the Canvas LMS. The goal is to retain a human instructor that has a higher student ratio to get cost savings. What we would recommend for the use case that you're describing, Wes, is to give your human instructor a learning companion as an assistant or as a backup resource, your human instructor isn't going to be online 24/7. So you take what the human instructor knows, you document a lot of that, you take all of your existing training content, you add it to the AI learning companion, and you have that be available to your class. And then you can probably have a higher student ratio. So everybody with straightforward queries who can get answers from the AI learning companion. And look, the AI learning companion is never going to lose patience with you, right? This is the insight that we first saw when Khan Academy did their GPT-4 demo with OpenAI way back. It will be as patient as you need it to be. It's not going to get irritated if you ask it a question for the 15th time. It's just not. You can ask it to dumb it down for you, explain using different language, explain with an example, and it's always just going to be there and go over things as many times as you need to understand it. So in terms of augmenting the capabilities for your higher student to teacher ratio to get your cost savings, this is an investment, yes, but we believe that the benefits far outweigh the costs.
It looks like Ralph has a great question. He says, can you use the AI companion to create simulations? The AI takes the role of the customer, you're a sales rep, you feed it a scenario, and then you look at the feedback against a rubric. And that's something that definitely can be done here, as well as we actually have a tool called Rehearsal that does the same. And it's kind of fun because it's a video back and forth. So something to check out as well.
Absolutely. So if you primary method of the simulation practice is going to be text, we have AI Learning Companion. If it is going to be video, like for sales teams, for example, and the pharmaceutical example that I gave you earlier, ELB does publish a product called Rehearsal, where you have the ability for either human instructors to evaluate your simulation practice, or the AI on the rehearsal platform will evaluate responses, and you can feed the AI your sales method, your keyword list, your approach. And once I finish practicing, the AI will automatically check for everything. Hey, you were supposed to follow X, Y, and Z process. You missed Y. Great job. You've done a great job. You wanted to retry. You want to maybe submit your assignment for review. All of this can be configured on rehearsal platform, but this isn't about rehearsal, so I'm not going to spend time talking about those technical capabilities. It exists. We can help you with that. I'm just going to scroll down in the chat. I think we're at the end. We do have a minute more. I will show everybody just a preview of the kind of qualitative reports that we can build. And this goes to what I was saying previously, right? This is a sample report that we're looking at with the basic financial literacy course. So this is the companion that followed the basic financial literacy course. We're looking at a sample period of 6 weeks, 427 learners, approximately 1,400 sessions. The key takeaways from this period, that those key takeaways will change. And then we have the ability to pull volume, tell you whether we're trending up in terms of volume, trending down, and if there are specific callouts in the notes. Now, I don't know how many of you remember this, but there was a company called Ask Viable that featured in some of OpenAI's earliest partnership videos. And they demonstrated how you could replace a human analyst's work, weeks worth of effort, with careful tuning and use of LLMs. And that's essentially what we're reproducing here. You don't need to analyze the transcripts yourself or run Python to analyze the transcripts yourself. We have the ability to pull the transcripts on the back end, run some analysis of it, generate a report, and then share them with you at a regularly scheduled cadence, depending on the agreements that we can come to. So just wanted to show everybody a sample. I know we're reaching the end of our time. Please come talk to us. We'd love to meet with you one-on-one if you have specific business queries you're interested in. We'd love to learn more about your needs and see how we can help you. Like we've alluded to, the AI Learning Companion is not the only platform or tool in RKT. We have other services and products as well that we can make available to you.
Absolutely. So we have a survey right after this session ends. Let us know if you want to learn more about the AI Learning Companion. We'll have someone reach out and speak to you directly. Thank you so much, Vicky, Amber. Thank you so much for just being smart and articulate to talk about this tool and explain it to everyone. And thank you to everybody who joined us today. We really appreciate your participation. And look out for other sessions we have coming up in the coming months.